Hi, Sandra.
Hi, how are you?
Hmm?
You good?
Yes, thank you. Yes, yes. So,
We've got you twice, Sandra.
I know.
yes,
I how you've got me twice. This is the off one modality because that wasn't working enough. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
great.
Just one
So,
thing. Yeah.
anyone like to make a report of their Miss Goldie journey in terms of consciousness within everyday life, the home? Anyone have anything to say on that weighty topic?
I've been using it. I had a fall. I slipped on some beach rocks with sand on them and just landed bang with my knees.
Oh,
So I just tried to ignore it and continued on as always, but they started to protest. So I used a lot of mindfulness walking and a lot of T8 and coming up through the soft palate and the front line, and that all helps to take pressure off the knees.
mm.
So that was very useful because we were booked in. I was limping. We were just on the way limping to do a 4-day walk in New Zealand. So I was limping to the start of it. But at night it was along waterways, along fjords. So if I got into real trouble, I could have had a water taxi down.
Mm.
So I managed that okay, just with shorter strides and some Alexander thinking.
Wow.
But it's taking its time. So I've had the usual MRI. I'm seeing a sports doctor this week, and just sort of yeah
Did you actually land on your knees then?
on the kneecap. So there's actually I mean I don't need to go into too much detail, but it showed bone bruising, which they can now see,
Yeah,
and I'm just being cautious because it's very close and under the joint and cartilage. And
mm.
I did try running on it, and I didn't particularly like it. So I thought
Yeah,
maybe the impact.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
give it time. I mean, my experience of knees is they take time. I'm telling a physio this. I'm sure you know. Yeah. So yes.
So I'm not worried in the short term. It's really now more for long term planning. Do I need to, yeah, do I need to reduce and yeah, as all of this, there's wear and tear. So just looking at how I'm going to manage that
Yeah.
in relation with future exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which reminds me, I actually want to put together a seminar on knees and on the structure of the knees and how one works with knees. Um, can we get together at some point and brainstorm it? From you
Yeah.
can give me your
Yeah.
physio perspective on it. Yeah.
I can give you my perspective. I don't see acute knees now for the last 10 years
Right.
because I'm doing much more, movement. So the rehab stuff and the Alexander and the body mapping. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
I try and avoid and a lot less hours. So I avoid the really acute
Mm.
people. I
Mm.
can't see them often enough. And, I can't keep up with all the new research on every
Sure.
level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
I'm
that's
happy, I've still got, there's still 40 years of experience. So I'm
exactly.
sure
You've
I
still
can.
got the knowledge. Yes. Yeah. No, I want to do a bit more research first, and then I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's a journey. I mean, I have my own journey with knees going on at the moment, so and it is all about just keep coming back and up, back and up, back and up, back and up, back and up,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that get
Really
off it,
is.
get off it, yeah,
Yeah,
get
just
off it.
lift off it, lift
Yeah,
off it, lift off it. Absolutely. But also getting the leg coming from behind, because the minute the leg comes in front, my knee
mm,
wobbles. If I get the leg
mm.
coming from behind, it's much more stable. Um,
If you've got your back line going, you mean you've got your
yeah,
hammies, your calves, back, and yeah, yeah,
absolutely. You've got the
yeah,
hamstring leading it and stabilizing it, rather than the
yeah,
quad going, ah, where am I?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Although, out of interest, just for anyone with knee problems, um, the body's normal reflex response is to inhibit the quadriceps, and then that makes a negative feedback cycle. So I use quadriceps activation just even for a few seconds as a medication, like a pain medication. It just activates it and then reduces the pain for a period of time. And
So,
the less acute it is, the longer that will last. So you're going to need your quads and you're going to need your VMO because the brain inhibits bang over and over and over while there's pain.
Yeah. So does everyone know what the VMO is?
Just the inside quad.
It's the inside quad.
The inside quad.
Vastus, VMO, vastus medialis.
Medialis
oblique, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the bottom of the VMO.
So
the
one of the inside bottom. So it just goes from your kneecap, it just goes to the center line obliquely up. The significance is that it's the only one that pulls the kneecap into that direction. Everything else pulls it to the outside, and then you end up getting kneecap problems, which is so common.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the only one that actually pulls the kneecap medially. Everything else pulls the kneecap exteriorly, laterally. Yes. So show us your quad activation if everybody else is interested in this. What do you mean by quad activation? Can you show us?
Yeah, there's three that are really good, and I think it varies on the person and the injury, which you prefer. A really nice, easy one is you might be familiar with is a wall sit where you
Oh yeah, we know wall sit. I know wall sits anyway. Does everyone else know wall sits?
You've got a wall behind you, and you can either just hold it, and you probably go lower than I am because I haven't got a wall behind me. And I like to put the fingers on the VMO, so that's just it's like a little raindrop, raindrop
shape. Right.
So this is the straight one that goes over the hip.
Rectus femoris.
And then the VMO is here.
Yeah, and it is raindrop shaped, isn't it? You can see that it's raindrop shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could put your fingers on it, and that helps to facilitate, tells the brain, sensory motor and your motor cortex is next to each other, so the palpation or the prodding helps to activate it.
Yeah.
And if it's so you can just wall sit and it will activate for most people. And then use time to actually strengthen it if you want to. Time, yeah?
Yeah.
Alternatively, you can do, if you're on the go and you're walking and it's playing up or in the bush, you can do a monkey, a nice monkey. Pop your fingers on the VMO and then lift one heel, lift the other. And if you can coordinate it, you can get them sort of moving alternately at the same time, pelvis level. And that gets them going really strongly.
Yeah, and you need the feet turned in the way we do to. If the feet turn out, the VMO doesn't activate in the same way, does it?
Exactly. Yeah. You can make it, if you've got all your weight on the VMO, you can do it with external rotation. I'm sorry, on the ball of the foot.
Yeah.
You can do it with external rotation, but we may as well do it like
Yes, it's easier.
Where we can get the front line happening easier. So that's quite nice. I was using that once today when I was walking in the bush. And the other one is a very localized physio one, which is handy to know.
I certainly didn't know that one you've just done, and it feels nice.
It's a lovely integrated one. You can integrate it totally with the other technique. And the VMO works quite strongly with the heel lift. So even in the wall sit, I'll often do the heel lifts.
Right.
I'll lift one up and lift the other up. And it's great because you're integrating, like for me, the hardest thing is to control the knee because I've got weak ankles, it's just sort of hereditary and lots of rolling out. So controlling it with the foot up then. So you're also getting that strengthening happening.
Yeah. Restricting the degrees of freedom of movement, as Bernstein would say, getting it tracking in the right direction.
Yes. I'm trying to show you you would do this on the floor. Maybe I can point it down. Oh, you can probably see me.
I can see one. We can see the floor.
So this is useful. You can do some really good local strengthening, particularly with maybe quite a painful knee. It's very controlled. So you put anything under it. It could be a flagon of, apple juice, or a plastic pipe, or a roller, something to soften it. And then a weight, up weight or something around your ankle, or I'm going to put this one over the foot.
So that's an ankle weight.
And then you can just, now you're really localising it.
Oh, I see. And you've got an ankle weight on, and then you're
back, nice and lengthened. You can turn it up a tiny bit. And some research says that will activate the DMO more when it's just very slightly turned out. So you've got that sort of facing up more now.
So you're turning up the toe.
I'm turning the big toe out very slightly.
Toe out very slightly. Yeah.
And the block's not ideal, Penelope.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay today, but if you're going to do lots of them with lots of weight, pick something round and have it a bit further back.
A bit further back, and something preferably round. Yes, that makes more sense.
You want it under your femur, under your thigh, not the back of the knee. Under the femur.
Right. So, excuse me.
So not that far back, but just not under your knee.
There.
Yeah. That looks good.
Yeah, and then I need a weight on the ankle, which I haven't got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your knee can tolerate it, doing the last few degrees is the most beneficial.
The last
it's
few.
The hardest, and it's where you get the most strength in.
The last
so not going quite straight there. So the last 3 degrees, even 2 degrees, are the most beneficial.
Yeah. So it's really getting it to go to straight.
And then nice and controlled.
Yeah. Because again, I've become aware that so many of us don't hold our knees fully straight. We're actually holding slightly flexed into the front, which again I think is not coming fully up out of the back, out of the hips, and not fully activating that. And of course, because this is tight for a lot of people, we don't fully straighten. So that actually bringing the leg too fully straight.
I think for me it was I had it bent for a long time, because if I didn't have it bent, then my pelvis would be in the wrong position.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the last few years that I was able to straighten my knees and still have a neutral pelvis.
Yes.
And I don't think that was shortening. I think it was habit and not knowing how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's coming out of all those contralateral curves. If we straighten the legs, the ribs push forward. Yeah.
There's a quick knee session.
Well, thank you. That was very interesting. Thank you very much. Because knees are such an issue. I think they are. Anyone else want to?
The thing is, they're always going. If we've got knee arthritis, a lot of us are going to end up with some form of it. The message to inhibit is just intermittent or constant. So we've got to do something just to keep them, maintain them.
The message to inhibit, by which you mean?
The brain is switching off the quads reflexly continually if there's any pain. And because arthritis has flare-ups, there's going to be a lot of messages of turn my quads off, turn the quads off.
Ah, okay. Because the brain is trying to stop the pain.
It does that with everything. It does it like with the back, which has been, that's how I know the person that sort of started with all of this. Anyway, a lot of the core stability work came about because the research showed that the muscles get switched off with pain, back pain.
So we're talking about the back pain, the back muscles there get switched off with
tummy,
back pain.
The core tummy would lose its anticipatory activation and just go into activating with movement, so that the timing changed.
So it only gets activated with movement, and it doesn't get activated as we're just standing around. Or it gets switched off.
I think it's been shown decades later to be less important, but it sort of brought this whole movement around. So what the research showed was that before that the core muscles in a healthy back would be activated a fraction of a second before we move. So it's
Yes.
actually protecting it. And then after back pain, that wouldn't happen. It came on a bit later. So you're already into movement.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I talk about that in chapter whatever it is, don't I? That the muscles have to be activated from the inside first and then out, and then we finally get the movement. So I started to tap into that, and I think I read something the other day and I didn't really understand it. So you've really explained it. Pain and the body switches the muscles off.
And
Yeah,
it seems,
and then they're far too late.
and I think well, that was what they found with the abdominal core muscles. With the quads, it can just switch off and, pretty much stay low unless you do something about it.
Yes. And of course, that's happening. I mean, if one looks at nobody here is doing the fitness club, is it? Are you? Because I've been looking at Dr. Stacey Sims and her statement.
Oh, I've listened to a lot of her stuff.
Yes. She's got a corncrake of a voice, but sympathetically activated or what. But she's great. But she's really talking about how muscles switch off as we get older, and particularly for women, the muscles switch off as we get older because of lack of estrogen. That actually is also part of muscles just switching off and nerves stopping being recruited. So
interesting.
Yeah. So you've really got to, as you said, for women particularly, it's not even just about strengthening the muscles, it's just about switching them back on again. And of course, that's been our theme through, all that work with the pulls is switching the muscles back on and keeping them switched on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think with Alexander, it's been too easy just to go for the table work. Let's just calm it all down.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not what we need. We actually, in the short term, maybe just to relax everything out, and then you've got to switch it on again. And there's some fantastic tales of Alexander in the early days. Do you know about the droopy young man, and he made his mother move to Hampstead? Do you know that one?
No.
It's back from, I don't know, 1915 or something probably. But this mum had obviously been taking lessons, and she said, "Can you see my son?" Who was say just a switched off young man, presumably very slumped. And Alexander said to the mother, "Right, I want you to take a flat in Hampstead." And Hampstead is the other side of London to Victoria. So you've got to walk to get from Hampstead to Victoria. It's about a 6-mile walk. And then Alexander hired 2 bully boys to arrive at the guy's front door first thing in the morning. They made him wear jumpers, sweats and overcoats and walk at speed from Hampstead to Victoria before he had his Alexander lesson. And presumably they made him do it every day for 6 weeks. Now, what of us would ever do that to an Alexander pupil nowadays? But it worked because that young man was droopy and he needed to switch him back on. The more commonly known tale, I think, is of the man who was switched off, and he filled his pockets full of stones. He put his overcoat on and filled his pockets full of stones and made him walk 3 times around the block, and then said, "Right, we'll come back in and we'll start working." So,
yeah,
Chris, you've got a wonderfly intense expression here. This is not the Alexander work we know, is it? As it were. Well, you guys might, but it's not the modern conception of the technique. But
no, but it's still sort of indicative of his ability to try different methods and look at things from a different perspective. It may not have worked, but obviously it did for these 2.
Lateral thinking, as you say.
So.
Yeah. But Carrington comments again and again. I've been reading Carrington. It's easier to work with somebody too tense than somebody who's too floppy. I mean, he says it again and again and again in his writing. And so, which tells me that Carrington didn't know how to switch people on again. it was a lot about, because Carrington was such a quiet, I mean, he was a lovely man, but he was so quiet and gentle, and let's just release here and let's just not do. And then I think he got frustrated because he didn't know how to. So something about activation went out of the, unless one worked with Rivka Cohen. Did anyone work with Rivka Cohen? Oh, firebrand.
I had a session with her in Jerusalem back in the late 90s. I felt like a real novice, and I don't think I really learned anything. It just, yeah, actually, it was a bit humiliating.
Yes. Yes.
Not a good forum to learn in, hey?
No, not really. I think she wanted to prove something, or she was playing to the audience or something. I quite know. But,
right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't walk away with a good feeling or any learning.
Yeah. No, I mean, I equally had a very bad experience with Rivka Cohen. So, yeah, I don't know that empathy was her strongest, or people observation was her strongest point. It was weird, actually. She was at Misha's for the day, and and the energy she brought was very exciting, and she was really getting everybody energizing up, and it was, wow, this is amazing. And because she was on a sort of performance high, she said, and I'll show you another thing that all my school really love. And for some reason she picked me, which, as somebody else commented afterwards, why did she pick the smallest, weakest female in the group? She put me into monkey, and then, without any warning, she slammed me really hard across the back of the shoulder blades and said, "Isn't that lovely?" And in those days, I didn't know how to say, "Fuck off, bitch, no." Which is actually what I wanted to say. And so she did it again and again, and the group were watching my face. And I mean, it felt like a public flogging. And the minute she let me go, I went off into the kitchen and burst into tears. It was awful. So, yeah, Rivka Cohen was not the most sympathetic of...
I got away with a lot then.
It was weird. I mean, had she picked a really strong, muscly young man, he might have gone, yeah, that's lovely. Who knows? But, yeah, why she picked me, I have no idea. But this energizing thing. So, yeah. Anyone else want to?
We've just, Michael Stenning has just written a book.
Oh, yeah.
And we've had some PD around that. He's spoken to us twice about the book. And it's very interesting. It's he's narrowed it right down. He hasn't gone out, and he hasn't gone into a lot of anatomy. He's gone more cerebral, I would suggest, and quite strong on attentiveness and intention. I found it a really good book because he trained in Cornwall with Axel, someone or other.
Oh, yeah, Axel, yes, yeah.
He and his
Haas.
partner. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he had quite a lot of contact with Walter Carrington.
Yeah, because the Haas trained with the
but
Carringtons.
he cites Goldie and McDonald and Barstow very briefly, and doesn't sort of go off it. But I think his sort of main argument is that the primary control is a dynamic, and that it's, that's what we need to be constantly looking for, is just activating a dynamic that makes you aware of your feet, the contact you have with the ground, your breathing, and the overall inner direction of yourself as an energizing process. And it's constantly in flux. It's moving, it's changing. It's so that's probably my take on it, off the cuff, if you like.
Yes, that's
I haven't
nice.
sat down. Yeah.
Yes, and of course that's all very much
And he's written it for Alexander teachers in their earlier stages of developing a practice, which is kind of nice. People can have that.
Yeah. And I mean, it is the core, isn't it? If you don't have that as your starting point, how can you ripple out, as it were, and take in?
Mm.
It isn't the whole
Yeah.
story, as you say, but
No,
it is something one absolutely needs to develop.
I
yeah,
think more relevant in an Australian context where we don't have access to lots and lots of teachers to go and get guidelines. So I thought for a new graduate, it's a really nice resource to keep checking in with, how much work you're doing to work.
Well, that's the point of this club, isn't it? Because I mean, we don't, as a group, I think societally, we don't do the work that we need to do. I mean, that's a strong thing to say, but getting most Alexander teachers to engage in the thinking processes in their daily lives. They know how to do it in the teaching room. They might do it while they're doing their yoga practice, but actually engaging in it in the moment by moment in our daily lives. And that is what Erica Whitaker and Goldie, and presumably Marjorie Barlow as well, I would think, were so strong on. And I think it came from the work around the small school, because they were working on getting the children thinking in activity in the small school. And my grandchildren are now at the Montessori school in Edinburgh, which is called school even if you're a 2-year-old. It's just slightly confusing, but and they're loving it. They're absolutely loving it, and you can really see it's doing the power of good for them. They have a focus. They know how to engage on a task. Even the little one, she's more focused, sitting doing a jigsaw. And the principal writes us little blogs, and I'm in the parent loop as Granny, and it's all about observing the child. The child is primary, guiding the child's interest, focus. It reads like an Alexander discourse. The one thing that school is missing is keeping length, and I'm going to, in the new year, go along to the principal and say, actually, do you want a little bit of guidance for your staff? But you could really see why Ethel Webb, who'd started to read Montessori and went, Ethel Webb found Alexander first and then investigated Montessori, because she could see the parallels. And then she met Irene Tasker and also Margaret Naumburg from New York on that first Montessori training, and she persuaded them to come and be Alexander teachers. And the first thing that happened was that Irene Tasker went to New York during the First World War, and they did their first small school there. Naumburg and her did the first school where they actually, and the pictures of it are in the back of, if anyone's got Irene Tasker's book, the book on Irene Tasker, if you go to the appendix at the back, there's the blurb for the school, for the New York school, and it's got a page on the Montessori side of it and a page on the Alexander side of it, side by side. And I'd say my thought is to photocopy that and take it to our school and say, this is the bit you're missing, because I see those children focusing, but they're doing that, classic concentrating child thing. So I think the women who worked with the small school were really aware of the need to think in activity, and the men rather took it down the line of, I do this for you because I'm very clever. And so to put it in that perhaps patronising language, but I think there was a real bit of that. And Alexander, of course, he loved being clever, and also he loved not telling people what he was doing in case they plagiarised it. And also because they couldn't do it because their faulty sensory perception, this whole thing about they're always wrong. So I think there's several reasons why he stopped talking. Thoughts? So getting going in activity. That's why.
I don't know if it's quite something that I use occasionally, which seems to can sometimes be a turning point for people is to put them on 2 air balance discs,
Yeah.
1 foot in the center of each, and it just breaks all their habits. And they have to find their jointedness. They have to let go. They have to find a lot of interconnection. They can still be a bit slumped here and here. The neck can be down and the upper, the rib cage can be down. But apart from that, they have to find a lot of, and while they're moving, it's easy to sort of guide their hips back, or they've let go of stuff. So you can actually, it's easy to add something in if someone's really a bit stuck or stiff.
Yeah.
And usually most people like it. For most people, it's fun. It's safe because it's not high. They can just step off.
So you're just on two.
No, actually, they've got air in them, so they're friendlier than that.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, they're friendlier, nicer. They feel a lot nicer.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
just those sort of bounce cushions with, yeah.
You can, yeah. I usually have you can get them that size. I usually
Yeah.
have to have them that size, which makes people feel really safe when they start. They don't wobble so much.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice thing to get them to respond, and really respond to the disc rather than push, 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 and they fall off and lose balance. So there's nice lessons in there, and it's fun. They like, if you've done a few things and they're having trouble, it's just something nice. It's easy, cheap. You stick them on there and they like it. Often they'll then walk away thinking, oh, I might buy those.
Yeah, there was a point where I did a very brisk trade in wobble boards, because that wobble board I've just shown is really easy. It's got a very shallow base and it's a very shallow curve, and it's not very high off the ground, so it's a very safe starter board. But yes, that I haven't got one of those air cushions.
They're more fun and safer. They feel better on the foot.
Right.
They're not so jerky. Yeah.
Yes, whereas the wobble board, you're right, is jerky. Yeah.
It's jerky.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, so this is more like standing on a bouncy castle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you discovered what I've changed up in the Goldie Club, in the formatting? Because I realised not enough people were working into the later videos. So I've actually changed the drip feed on it. I've made the first 3 months non-negotiable. You have to go through the 4 lessons in the 4 weeks of month 1, the 4 weeks of month 2, and the 5 weeks of month 3. The five sessions of month 3. You don't have to do the Goldie stuff. You don't the Delsart stuff. You don't have to do any of the peripheral stuff. But those basic 13, standing, turning, etc. Those ones you have to do them and tick them off. And then the system will let you into absolutely all the other videos. So if you're wanting to clean your bath and you're thinking, how do I do this without hurting my back? You can flip straight to the cleaning the bath one and watch the video and then have a go at it while cleaning your bath. So I've made it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw your email. I think it's a great idea. It has no impact on me because I think they're the most foundational, helpful ones. They're the ones I've done over and over again, So, and then I picked some of the other ones, yeah.
Yes, you cherry pick the other ones, yes. And you may all have been in the Goldie Club long enough that that's not relevant anymore because it's all you've got open all access to it anyway. But, do avail of that. So just to say, because then you really can think, well, oh God, I'm going to hoover the kitchen floor today. I'm going to hoover the floor today. How do I do it? Let's just have a look and see, and you can watch my video and think, well, actually, those aren't the directions that work for me. But you've got an idea of a baseline that you can then, again, find your own directions if needed. And I do talk about that from, I think, month 13. You don't have to use my directions. Here's the constructive conscious control of it. This is the action. What am I doing? What directions do I need to not do that? What directions do I need to bring me out of that? Which is the real way to use the constructive conscious control. Nicola couldn't be here today because it's too early for her to, she'll be getting her child to school. But she did a great piece of constructive conscious control the other day, she told me. She couldn't breathe. She realised her head was pulled back, and that was part of it, and she thought through what she needed to do. She needed to open the back of the occiput, and that would actually open everything up. And then that opened up the breathing, and that opened up the diaphragm, and everything shifted. But she didn't just think, oh, I better put my primary control in. She actually reasoned it out. I thought, wow, that's really good. How often do we do that? Or do we just sort of try, well, I'll try this fix, I'll try this fix? Or do we actually work out, what am I doing? What do I need to do to come out of that? And it's not always the obvious. My shoulder's up, I might just think, put it down. But that's not the answer, is it? I'm going to actually think ribs at the back of the armpit across up from sacrum and screw the ankles. Oh yeah, that's better. So have a go at that. What would anyone like to focus on something particular today?
I've been working from our last session. I've really working on that deep front line, particularly in gym sessions. Mm-hmm. And I have been working a tremendous amount on my feet because, particularly my left foot, I don't talk to my third and fourth toe. And as I've been working on them, I sort of started to think, I might need to go a little bit further into that. And I've just had an X-ray, and I may have a Liz Frank fracture.
I don't know what a Liz Frank fracture is.
Yeah, I don't know. The physio said I might have one.
Right.
But I've got intermittent pain in the foot, particularly in a shoe, like a gym shoe. But I'd never, so you know how you can do that. I can almost do that on my right foot, but I can't do it on my left. And so part of my question is, have I done something, or is it just that I'm actually trying to coordinate myself in such a way that I can begin to get some mobility? And so it requires a lot of, obviously, thinking and connecting in the whole system. And I've also been thinking a lot about, or it feels like my mid-thoracic is waking up. So I'm suddenly getting some strength in my arm because of the system. So
from the front line, probably from your front line thinking.
Your deep front line thinking.
Deep front line, yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. So up here, down there. So there's a lot of change happening, and I'm just plod, see what happens, really.
It's interesting, isn't it? This laterality thing that, because when we first do mind in the brain with people, and take your mind into your foot, wiggle your toes. Just try that again for the moment. Just take your mind into the foot, wiggle the toes. And do the toes move individually, or do they move as a block? Bring them back, bring the mind back up to the brain, wiggle your toes. And now how do the toes move? Do you notice the difference?
Okay. But I'm certainly playing around with all of that, and then
But that's just the starting point, isn't it? Did everybody else notice that difference? That when you're down there, the toes just do that, and when you come up to the brain, they do that. Did you notice that, Chris?
No.
Try again. Take your mind to your foot.
Yeah.
Right down into your feet, and wiggle your toes. Just think about wiggling your toes. Now bring your mind back up to the brain and look out. And just send an email to some imaginary foot. And let your toes wiggle. This is one that somebody mentioned, I think, last year, and I was like, wow, why haven't I spotted that before? Could you feel the difference, Chris?
A little, yes. Yeah, it's more individualized toes rather than sort of a
Yeah.
block movement. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Elka, is that clear to you?
There's not the clenching. There's no
Mm.
which you get with when you go down. There's not the clenching. I've worked with my toes a lot because I've had foot problems for decades. So they're a bit more similar, the
Yeah.
two things.
Yeah. So then the question becomes, Sandra, why is that working on one side of the body but not the other side of the body?
Yes. So I get that and I can see that, but I do think that because it's been for, I would say even in childhood, by when I started teaching or started training as a teacher, I only had kind of two toes.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't mean they can't wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. I because it's been going on for such a long time, I have gone to the physio, who I'm very happy with, and I will take that information as well to see if I can get some. But that's just what I've been working on, is how do I start waking this foot up properly now?
Yes. So does it actually, I mean, I think my question with this is, does that toe pattern come from higher up? That
Yeah, so
somehow,
that's part of what, I'm looking at inside of the pelvis, the whole leg,
yeah,
getting
breathing
more,
on that side. Yeah.
as Alka was saying, into the whole, waking up muscles. And it's really interesting, obviously all my cohort are in that menopausal, postmenopausal phase. My sort of belief system is that although there's hormonal stuff, there's still a lot that we can do to keep the body awake and alive just by thinking about keeping it awake and alive. That's part of, sometimes people come and they're just asleep. They're walking around, and part of our job is just to help them find a way of finding joy in their body and being able to play. And
Yeah, absolutely.
But a big thing, and in fact, I got a long-term student this week, and he was terribly excited. That support in the mid-back for allowing the freedom in the arms. You're not collapsing onto yourself, but actually another way.
Yes, and then you can do what you like. Yeah, because the body's supported. Yes.
And you've got more strength, tone in the arm, so it's not such a, using them, it's not so heavy and work related, I suppose. So it's been fun.
Nice.
And also finding that deep front line anytime I'm doing a crunch or a sit up or any of those forward exercises. Just it's a really good reminder to keep coming back into that deeper front line, to take the effort out of it. That's not to say that there isn't effort in it, but it's a different, very different quality, and it's more of a activity than an isolated exercise.
Yes, and I've got another little nugget to add to the deep front line, that somebody who was in one of the early book study clubs got in touch with me the other day and said, where do you write in the book that the soft palate is the centre of gravity of the head? Because I can't find it. And it's like, I didn't write that. But I think somebody must have said it as part of the book study club, but she commented that she'd been using it ever since. And
Thanks.
yeah, and I started playing with it, and because what she pointed out was that if you think about the soft palate lifting as the centre of the head, it actually naturally brings about the balance of the head from the inside. Whereas she said, if you think about it from the, head forward and up, that's an external. And it's a subtle doing, whereas the inside one just does itself.
And it's kind of easier for people to find a sense of that one than to, whereas, everybody knows where their mouth is and where their soft or hard palate is, so it gives them a way of finding the soft palate.
Yeah, because the soft palate's a long way back. Elka, you're dying to say something.
Yes, because I listened to that intermittently, and it's in it's in one of your lessons. The lesson on the pharynx and the jaw tension and the tongue, and then you go up to the soft palate, and you say, okay, let the back of the wisdom teeth drop down, but then of course the top ones lift from the bottom, and then you take it into the soft palate, and the whole inside of the head comes up, and everything in the whole anterior line gets going. You say that.
Where in the book?
No, in the voice lesson. I'll have to get my phone and check it out.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I have talked about the soft palate lifting as part of that internal balance of the head. The piece I hadn't put together before was that the soft palate, and I have introduced it as part of the deep front line, which Myers doesn't have. We take it up to the soft palate and the brightening behind the eyes, which between them catch that top of the jawbone. So what I was trying to do was sort of feel where my soft palate was. And think, well, it's a finger back, so it is actually the same span back but I would have said it was slightly lower down than that. So it's somewhere between the soft palate and the brightening of the eyes is actually the centre of gravity of the head. What do you think? But certainly thinking the soft palate up just finds it. But where do you need that?
Does it matter if you're starting below and going up to the top? If it's the pivot point, maybe it's not the centre of gravity, maybe it's a pivot point. I don't know.
But it's the whispered R, isn't it? We're lifting the soft palate and lightening the eyes.
Yes.
Internal smile.
Yeah. Yeah, which is back to my feeling that actually Alexander was doing his own head forward and up from below, not from above. And somehow we've been given head forward and up from above, but actually he was finding it from below.
But the whispered R is his acting training.
Absolutely, and everything, yeah, and all the voice work he did. The very detailed voice work he did. Yeah, of getting that whole, keeping the top of the sternum up and letting the abdominals come in and take everything up.
And that's a new
That's what, sorry?
one for me. Thinking the sternum.
It's huge.
What's a mystery? The sternum up?
I'm just waking that up.
Yeah.
Did you say it's a mystery? Did you say
I didn't know.
No, you said it's just waking up.
Hmm.
I think it's such an important point. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just...
Yeah, well, quite. And I think we've given ourselves a very hard time by thinking about leading from here. It's like it's actually here in the soft palate and the eyes. And you've got it.
I have a question, if that's all right.
Please.
On it's when you talk about, it doesn't matter if I didn't know if it was just a misstep in words or if I just wasn't understanding it, but when you speak about the T8 and you speak about, I think it's in the lifting, coming up on the toes, coming up on your toes without leaning forward, so coming up from the floor straight up, and you talk about if we lift up here, then the T8 goes forward and down.
Yeah.
And then when we bring it back, when we bring it back, it goes back and up. But then you say that the top of the sternum goes up, yes? but you
Yeah.
say it goes forward, and I don't understand forward because it's
Right. Yeah, sure. Good question. So play along with me. One hand on T8 and to start with, one hand on the bottom of the sternum and come up from the bottom of the sternum, and the bottom of the sternum comes forward and up, and the T8 goes forward and down, as you say, Elka.
forward and down. Yep.
Yeah. So then we want to reverse that. We want to take T8 back and up, and the bottom of the sternum back and down, really.
Yeah, yeah.
So it actually does want to come back, and it sort of want. I always think it comes. Those lower ribs come. They come down to come back. To
Backing
come
up.
wide to come up was the recipe I had for ribs years ago. Was that those front ribs need to come down, to come back, to come wide, and then we come up at the back. So does that one make sense to start with? Again, start from this
Yes,
push
yeah.
forward point. The
Yes,
ribs
yeah.
need to come down, to come back, to come wide, and then T8 comes up. The whole back of the ribs cage comes up. So that's okay. But the danger is that we then do that.
Yeah.
Then we drop the top of the sternum. So the top of the sternum needs to come up. That's a given. But again, to come back to this one, if I've pushed the front of the rib cage forward, this bit forward and up, this has actually gone back.
Back and down, yeah.
Back and down. So if we reverse that forward and up,
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
T8 is coming back and up, and that's coming forward and up.
That actually feels nicer because it seemed to organise all the other parts
The whole rib cage, doesn't it? Yeah.
in a more coordinated.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's easier to coordinate it from here than from here. You're absolutely
I've always gone from here. I think you say top of the sternum.
Yes,
If you want.
absolutely do. Yeah, absolutely, all the way through. So the discovery that somebody made at one point, I forget who, in one of the book study clubs quite early on, was that instead of, we tried the difference between thinking the front of the sternum forward and up and thinking the back of the sternum forward and up.
The back being the inside of the sternum.
I think that was in our
the...
class. I remember that in our Aussie class, someone came up with that.
Yes. Right. It was you guys. Yes. Excellent.
Yes.
And it's a game changer, isn't it? Sandra, you were trying to say something.
I was just trying to get clarification on what the back of the sternum.
Yes. Inside.
So the inside instead of thinking of the outside of the sternum, you're sort of thinking the back of the sternum. So it's a subtle difference, and it's well, I don't know how thick the sternum is, but it's no more than 1/8 of an inch, I guess. But just finding that back and up, that forward and up from the inside, what's the difference? What are you aware of?
Oh, there's more back.
Or of this happening.
Seems to be more movement in the in a backward direction.
Yeah, it sort of this just pulls us forward, doesn't it? Whereas if one gets it coming from the inside, there's more of it gets it all going together. And of course, this is on the deep front line. It's on the anterior track of the deep front line. This is on the superficial front line, but the back of the sternum is on the anterior track of the deep front line. So it's a more internal movement. Why it works, I don't know. I did a weekend with Bruce Furtman a few weeks ago, and he commented, anyone would think there was a muscle that ran between the top of the sternum and the coccyx. It's like, you know, and so I mean, I forget whether it was Jando that said bring the top of the sternum up from the sitting bones, or whether it was what I think that's the one he said. But you could play with coming from the sitting bones or from the sacrum, I think. But
or the coccyx. Somebody in our class said the coccyx, tip of the coccyx, and that's nice.
Yes, exactly. Tip of the coccyx, that also works. So just to get that internal, that back of the top of the sternum coming up from somewhere back down here. And it just somehow, it's much better than going to the top of the head.
If I think of the tip of my coccyx, that's what I was going to ask you too, because I think you went initially from sit bones, and then in our classes we discussed that maybe the coccyx was good. If I think of my coccyx, I think the pelvic floor comes in automatically, so it's more the front line.
Yeah.
So what I have is, you have a lot of ladies with very chest leading pattern, so that the thrust forward higher up. So it's not the lower ribs, it's the middle of the sternum. So I get them to think the depth of themselves to try and bring, just as a start, because I haven't got all the understanding to go into those deeper connections, but just to have some sense that there is a depth
in their pelvis. You're talking about in the pelvis, a depth in their pelvis.
So when you're starting with someone, you haven't got all that bigger picture of connections.
Yeah.
So I just think that there is a relationship, there is a depth.
Yeah,
so
a depth.
It doesn't have to be out here.
Yes.
The back.
That's right.
If they're lying down,
because
so they start thinking.
Stop at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get any idea that there is a support structure from below. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the other one for the it was Don Burton, who was very against his female students wearing bras, because he said, if the back is working properly, it should support the chest. And I'm rather with him on it, that, if we're doing that, the boobs, the breasts collapse, whereas if you get that width there, again, it's supporting the breast without, doing the Barbie thrust. So, but as you say, that needs to be cut. So you've got this widening across the back of the armpits, but then this connection up from below. Yeah, nice. And if you put the two together, you'll get something softer rather than sort of feeling you have to hold your breasts tight. Yes.
Yeah, and it starts to actually sort of then give form to the torso.
Yes.
As opposed to
which is totally new to them, to most of them, isn't it? Totally new. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, there'd be a real change in, you would be conscious of breathing more fully, I would suggest, because you've actually released that upper thoracic, or you've stopped some of the rigidity in the upper thoracic.
Yes. To come back to the top of the sternum one, there's one of Carrington's dialogues where he's one of his little talks, and my suspicion is that again it's after Alexander's early articles were published, because it's dated after Jan Fischer would have discovered them. And he comments, he actually writes a piece about we've got to keep the top of the sternum up, or speaks it. And what he says is that the ribs work like a Venetian blind. They have to sort of all fold together and unfold together and fold together and unfold together. And he said if the top rib isn't stabilised, they can't do that. So if that happens, it doesn't work in sequence and the whole thing just collapses. Whereas if the top rib is stabilised by staying up, then the rest can all fold and unfold around the top rib. And I wondered what you thought of that.
Well, for me, it brings up all the vocal training as an actress. So, you know, there's the confusion for holding the ribs out there.
Yeah.
And doing with the diaphragm, whatever. Or like trying to have everything move. But actually, you have to have this to free up the voice, to support all through here.
Yes.
And then, yeah, that soft palate going up, you can start to really feel some internal support as well.
Yes, and the top of the sternum is just crucial for the support of the whole the whole torso.
That allows the lower ribs to be free rather than the kind of the whole everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
That whole sort of
And that first thoracic rib's coming right up underneath the collarbone too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Up through,
yeah, it's right up
in,
here. Yes.
Up in here.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's
But
really
higher up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's almost you can't. Can you palpate it? I can never find.
Yeah, you can. So I can
just
you can palpate it. The first rib sort of there.
You've gone above your clavicle.
Yeah, it's above. The first rib's above your clavicle. Yeah. I'm on it there now. I'm on bone there. I'm on the rib there.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, because it's quite close in, isn't it? It's not that far out.
Yeah. No, it's only tiny, really. It's a small.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What's muscle, what's bone there? Yeah.
If you go further back, posteriorly back, but in front of upper tract.
Sorry? It's in front of the trapezius.
In front of the trapezius.
Yeah.
And then go down. You'll feel there is a bit that's definitely bone.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, you can sort of press on it and it's comfortable. Whereas if you press into the other bits, it's like, ooh.
It hurts, yeah.
Yeah, so there is a bit in there. Yeah, you can press on and it's bone. But the trapezius is quite a wall, isn't it? That's the end of the trapezius. It's quite sort of strong point. Yeah, so that first rib, I'll draw up a picture of it.
I've got a picture of yours here.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can see it.
I've just got
You've got a good one?
I've just got this one, but it doesn't show the clavicle. It's a Ted Diamond one. Which is the
the clavicle, you can see where the clavicle is attached though.
Yes.
Which is above the first rib.
Yes, it's there.
Yeah.
But it's quite close in, isn't it? So the clavicle is here. So that explains why that point where we were palpating is probably above, because even the first rib slopes and the clavicle is going there. So we can sort of get our fingers into that bit there.
That bit, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeremy Chance did a workshop in Berlin where he talked about the shoulders, that he said so many because he works a lot with dancers, and that they're taught to take their shoulders back and down, and he was thinking about which are the most important joints, and obviously that was his first joints, but he was thinking the main joints have to be where the 5 objects, as it were, attached to the spine. Well, the first object is the head attaching to the spine. Object's probably the wrong word here, but and so that's the head neck joint. And then you've got the limbs attaching to the spine, and that's at, well, he chose the hip joint, which is really the sacroiliac. And then he said the third one is this one, the sternoclavicular, where the arms actually attach to, which isn't the spine, but it's into the sternum, which then attaches to the main body. And he said if you take your shoulders back and down, that means you then need, in order to get it right again, you then need to take your whole mass of the arm, because backtrack, sorry. His thought was, rather than just thinking of the head pivoting on the neck, he said when you're thinking about a lever and a pivot, you're thinking about the mass of that lever pivoting, working around the pivot joint. So he said, there's so much head. He said what Goldie said, there's so much head above that pivot point. If you think of the whole mass of that head coming up and around, rather than thinking of the point itself, which gives a very sort of feel, if you think of the whole mass of the head, which is of course my whole raindrop game, thinking the whole mass of the head moving around that pivot, then you get a different quality. So if you apply that to this, we've got the whole mass of the arm, which is this and the shoulder, and it's pivoting around this point forward and up. And that's where it comes. And I thought that, I found that personally very useful. So if you think you...
So hold on, I've missed the crucial sentence, I think. So
the sternoclavicular point is the pivot, but what is rotating around that pivot isn't just the clavicle, it's the whole mass of the arms and the shoulder, all rotating around the pivot. So you bring that, so from that back and down place, you bring the whole mass forwards and up around that pivot.
Which is like your elbows out and forward and down.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
correct.
exactly. I was sort of
It's
combining.
exactly the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I was just combining what you were saying then to what you were saying earlier about T8 and the changes there. And all of a sudden I felt myself going into that pull where you're putting the elbows out, the wrists back.
Exactly.
Yeah, and up comes T8, the whole this whole area comes forwards and up. Yeah. So I quite liked that. Again, maybe as a simplification for pupils who are doing too much, just thinking of the whole mass of the arms coming that way.
I found that interesting to think of this joint, not that joint.
That's the difference. That's the piece that I haven't put in there before. Is to think of it that, and that then feeds into what we've been saying about the top of the sternum being such a crucial point, because it really brings here as an important leading point. So I think there is that it puts that piece together again.
And for me, it brings the arm into the body.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Rather than thinking it as it really integrates the arms ready to go.
Because the legs, it's you can see that it's more towards the spine, whereas that's not towards the spine. But of course, this is nice like that.
Yeah. And again, like Chris said, thinking from the back of the top of the sternum gives you that link back. Carol, who's also in the book study club, she's forever coming up with connections where the back meets the front and the front meets the back. So she would say that when you take T8, you've got that, but the top of the sternum it's not just got that, but there's also a that. So you've got this sort of crossing. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah.
Which of course
you mean a counter tension? Do you mean a counter of opposition?
It's like when we do the reverse bicep direction, and it's thinking about the front widening, but yet it brings a connection between the front and the back. Which might be through the might be through the fact that we're coming to the coracoid process, which is actually part of the scapula. So that's taking it through to the back. It might be that we're taking it through to that front of the clavicle, where again the trapezius, which it's at the back, comes over to the front. So you get this sort of melding of the front and the back together. Whereas we tend to think, oh yeah, back of the armpit, front here, as two separate units, but they're actually just, they're all the time, they're doing this. So we've got a number of front-back things going on here. We've got this, you know, tip of the coccyx to the front, the back of the front of the sternum, and I mean, the one Myers points out from here is that the sternocleidomastoid does that, and the splenius, I think it is, goes in the other way. Well, the splenius is a crossing one, but he sees them as crossing over, because the splenius must finish further in that way, whereas because it comes to the spine, whereas the sternocleidomastoid comes behind the spine to the mastoid. So again, you've got a crossing there, but I think it's intriguing to find it at this point. So we've got this meeting of front and back, and then they all walk forwards together. So again, we've got, it's not just a question of my front walking forwards and my back following. The whole thing is, it's an integration. I finally got everyone on their feet. Good. The back meets the front meets the back. We've got the coccyx in the back of the sternum. The front of the mass of the arms rotating around the top of around the sternoclavicular.
I was lowering my body.
Lowering your body.
I've got another query, but only if other people haven't got one.
Go on.
Your leg pulls. I was just listening. I haven't listened for a while. I was listening to, I think, the summary, and it was lovely. You were going. The drawing in the front to back, the ribs, allowing it to widen in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And the instep, coming up, pulling the arms back. But the bit that I was confused about was that you were talking of the femur, allowing the femur to roll out. And I was playing with that, and I don't know what's right or wrong. I think it just needs to be free, but I couldn't quite see how you're doing all this widening, which is going to encourage a internal rotation, but we don't want too much internal rotation. We do need to. So I was just allowing it to free, basically, but I couldn't really see how. I was just releasing it as a release, not particularly, and thinking it free, and then screwing back the ankle, connecting the VMO. But I couldn't quite see how you were thinking of that coming out. The femur,
Okay.
externally rotating.
Yes, sure. So when I first worked with Jando, he was my pattern would have been that the feet turned out and my knees knocked. So the internal needed to rotate to get that screwing of the ankle, and then these needed to come the other way. And so that's very much where I started from, and I think that's that's the way the directions are given in chapter 8 when we first introduced the legs, that the lower leg needs to rotate in and the upper leg needs to rotate out. And he talked about the sartorius, which did that. Later on he talked about the IT band, the need to keep the IT band taut, because of course if the IT band goes slack, then it's that the leg is not toned. So that he talks about the need of the IT band to come back and up that way. And of course these muscles are all external rotators, so they want to be, you know, the glutes and the outer glutes and the medial gluteus medius, they are all external rotators. So there's that aspect going on, but then what we've added, and that's sort of rather linked to iliac spines coming back, but once we all got the posterior iliac spines coming that way, then there became an awareness that actually the pectineus, that the femur will naturally, the minute you bend your knees, the femur will naturally rotate out, because that's what it does. And you need to stabilise that by this pectineus thought to roll it that way. And that actually the inward rolling is more of what's, you need to find this internal connection all the time to bring in the VMO, to bring in the medial hamstrings, to bring in the adductors. So,
and the psoas.
And the psoas, exactly. So it's these midline muscles that have gone more, and these are the ones we've really got to be waking up. And the minute you get this and this going on, it's like, yes, it brings in that, all those midlines, and then as you bend the knees, that then stabilizes your knees, and suddenly your knees really do track forward in a stable way. Does that answer your question?
Not quite. Yes and no. I was doing it for a long time, and all those internal leg muscles were working. I was basically shutting off too much of my stabilizers, I think, on the outside.
On the outside, yes.
So then the thought of how to bring that in a way, you know. So yes, this was all happening, but then I realised they were actually overworking now, and I wasn't getting enough help from the outside.
Yes.
Which is our strength, you know. It's got to be there. Yeah.
I was aware of that the other day when I was doing bridges for myself on one leg, and I became aware that if I just thought about the internal line of the legs to get all that working, then the other hip tended to drop down. And I thought, no, if you're doing a one-legged bridge, you've got to keep the hips steady. What happens if I think to keep the hips steady? And suddenly all this outer side had to come into play in balance with the inner side, and there was a sense of a breadth of the hamstrings working that I don't think I'd quite experienced before. So I think we're saying the same thing, but from a different angle. And yes, I did wonder whether, because one's done so much working up that medial line, and then it's important not to miss your IT median. But that's, you know, that's the name of the game, isn't it? One needs to wait.
That's the name of the game, to then integrate it, isn't it?
Yes. But so, yes, because the outside ones are the real stabilizers, the inside ones are the power, the outside ones are the stabilizers, and they strengthen it all. So have we answered the question at this point, or is there still more that we're not quite?
No, I think so. I think we're saying the same thing. I think I just sort of, by releasing them, then allowed that to come in.
Because the fact is that, like, it's like we've been just saying, the shoulders, you can't just think that way or just think that way. You've actually got the two going on together. You've got the spiral that way and the spiral that way, and the two together give you an integrated arm that then, you know, really links into the torso. And it's the same at the legs, isn't it? We have to start by thinking in one direction, and then we think in another direction, but at a certain point we actually have this whole double helix going on together.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
Which comes to neural stacking. Who knows the phrase neural stacking?
I don't.
You
Heard
don't.
of it, but
You don't, Alka. Nobody else does either. It's something I've picked up on very recently, like in the last 2 weeks. Somebody sent me an unsolicited email. They'd seen one of my somatic, they'd seen a podcast of mine, which is on the somatic primer, which is obviously going out to a whole different audience. And suddenly I got this email from a man out of the blue who said, "Thought you might be interested in this." So I listened to it, and it's a fitness instructor who has discovered the role of the brain. And and he says at one point, people try and get their posture right through exercise, and they're just told if they don't get it, when it doesn't work, they're told, "Oh, you haven't done your exercises enough, or you haven't done hard enough," or whatever. And he said everybody's missing the point. Posture isn't organised. Cortically, it's organised in the brainstem. It's like, fuck, the physios are catching up with us.
You got to find something new.
Yeah, we haven't got a monopoly on this anymore. I mean, he's a new voice. But another thing he talked about was the cerebellum as as not really the stabilizer, but as forming into left and right. I can't give you that one in a nutshell, but there was a quick one. A quick take was that to wake up the cerebellum, they like rotations. The cerebellum likes rotations. If we only work in the midplane, we switch our cerebellums off. So that was interesting, because I noticed that the people who are stressed don't do a hand rotation. That they just use their hand like that. They've lost that movement. So when he was talking about getting the cerebellum, what was he doing? He was doing that. So I thought, that's interesting. Because the minute we're stressed, I think we shut down the cerebellum, and then we lose that smoothing of movement. So that was that little take. And then the third one that I picked up on from him was the vestibular. And he said, everybody works with balance just by standing still and standing on one leg. He said, that's not when people fall over. He said it's when you're walking down the road and you're also on your phone, and you need to go from your phone to ahead to the phone ahead, and your brain has got to coordinate that with walking. And then you might be walking and talking to someone, or walking and navigating a curb, and it's the multitasking is that they're calling neural stacking, and that's what keeps the brain connections alive. And if you haven't got that, that's when you fall over. And so, having listened to him saying that, YouTube then threw me up, like YouTube does, this woman who said, learn neural stacking. So I clicked on her, and she did this dance routine where she said, your vestibular system needs multitasking. And so she took it, she took one through a sort of dance routine. She said, let's start off by doing that, and then do that, and that, that, and that, and then do it that, and then let's do step, and then let's add counting to that, and then let's add this to that, and let's add. So she was really, and I could follow her because I've got a dance training, and I thought, wow, ballet taught me neural stacking. I can think about my legs and my arms. And then but the one I found hard was when she said, right now, as we're doing these movements, we're going to do that, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then do the opposite in the other hand. So, at which point my brain said, I'm out of here. But it was very interesting. And she got one to balance with one foot in front of the other like that, and then closed my eyes, and I was all over the place. And by the end of what she'd done, I could close my eyes and I was rock steady. So it really had worked up the vestibular system. Oh yeah, the other one was turning. Can you walk forward with your head that way? Can you walk forward with your head that way? So again, there's a lot in that they seem to be talking about tracking with the eyes, or, as you're tracking the eye one way, tracking the eye the other way, doing again that dance movement I've just been suggesting. Take the head one way, take the head the other way. Can we take the eyes opposite and stay balanced? So, and then I thought, do you know what? We've been doing this in Alexander's work.
Yeah.
All at once, one after another, all at once. Alexander was asked neural stacking. Can we take a direction this way and this way and this way? And can we think them all in one go? And then can we speak at the same time? So that's neural stacking. The old bugger discovered it all 100 years ago, except it came from Delsart, this one. So here's another bit. I mean, we've got to get the message out there. You know, all these new discoveries we're already doing. Except that I think the Alexander community, again, in the name of making things simpler for people, you know, and I'm aware I sort of don't always push my pupils. When I first discovered the Jando stuff and the 1, 2, 3, I was getting everybody doing a 1, 2, 3 from very early on. And now I shy away from it because it's hard work getting people doing it. And I'm thinking I must go back to making sure that every single one of my pupils knows how to do that 1, 2, 3 and get 3 directions going at the same time and speaking at the same time. Can we think and get directions going? And it's all about coming back to spatial awareness. It's all about getting the whole thing integrating together, isn't it?
Recording in progress.
Hang on, Sandra, what are you up to? She's gone.
I'm back.
You're back.
I don't know.
So you've needed to switch device, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So anyone want to comment on that?
Well, it's interesting. When I fell on the rock, I was, talking to a girlfriend, and it was slippery sand on the rock,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if I'd been on my own and not talking, I'd turned to her and,
Right. So you didn't just listen, you actually turned to her as you were.
We decided it wasn't safe. We needed to actually walk one arm behind the other, but it was probably 5 seconds too late.
Oh dear. Yes. Well, we live and learn. So, have a look at the video on cleaning the bath because that is neural stacking. A lot of those later videos are real neural stacking. They're getting you thinking in multiple planes at once and working out what you're doing and speaking it. It's neural stacking. It's good for our vestibular systems. It's good for our balance. So just leaving you with that thought. We're out of time. It's interesting, and it seems. I say it was interesting to me that 2 things came up together on this. The woman, I'll send you the link to her. She's in Australia somewhere. So this is something that is starting to be being talked about. We need to get on board.
Yeah, I've found a few of those kind of videos. Just slightly more complex movement, but I also attended one of our guys doing some dart procedures, so it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Slightly more complex movements.
Yes. So we've all been doing this a long time, and it's like, let's put the science to it and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're teaching, and this is where it will take you. Yeah, rather than just, well, I'm just doing this, isn't it nice? To be able to.
Yeah, no, I think the neural stacking I think is a really good bit, particularly as people are aging.
Yeah.
About balance is about being unstable, but in a mindful way.
Yeah.
Being able to.
And again,
So
it's back to it's recruiting nerves. It's keeping everything recruited together. Yeah.
There was I read a physio article in a journal, physio journal, in the one that's more about community than scientific. And there was an Australian physio doing just that. He said we don't fall over, because we fall over because, like you say, we're doing multitasking. And so he's got all these classes happening now where they are challenged. Maybe they have to throw a ball, do this, or go, or count from 100 back, or miss every third number, and all sorts of things.
Yes, that's one she mentioned is can you count backwards in threes while you're doing these tasks? So really, again, to really integrate to be able to think and move at the same time, because that's one a lot of people can't do, or they can't think and stay focused. Most people can't do that. If
they shut down to think.
They shut down to think, or they look off to think, and then they can't move at the same time. And we need to integrate it back together. So, yeah. Okie doke. So, Elke, I'd love to see that article if you.
I don't know where it is now.
Don't worry. But if you come across another one,
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we find a date in 3 months' time?
Yeah. Can I just my diary?
Yeah, sure. So today is the 8th to 11th of December. 11th of January, 11th of February, 11th of March. Could be going to Berlin that week, so not that week. So how about either Thursday the 5th or Thursday the 19th of March?
When are you thinking?
Either Thursday the 5th of March or Thursday the 19th of March. If Thursday's a good day for everybody. It's a good day for me because it's my day, and there's no competing things on Thursdays.
Either of those dates is fine.
5th is good for me, yeah.
The 5th is good for you, Chris?
The 5th's fine, yeah.
The 5th's fine. And, yeah.
Either or, I don't know.
Well, let's go for the 5th, and I think I'll still be at 7:30 in the morning, because I think you guys haven't time shifted by then, have you?
No, we go at the end of March.
End of March, yeah, absolutely, and so do we. So, yeah, so it'll still be 7:30, which is fine. So, Aussie Goldie. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for tonight. It's very interesting.
Welcome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was very interesting. Very good.
Yeah, and thank you for your discourse on knees, Elke. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground here today.
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
Fun. Okay, see you all in March, if not before.
Yeah.
Okay, have a happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, and you all.
Good start to the new year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All the best.
See ya. Thank you.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.